Hey everyone, Jay Strokes here again. Welcome back. Today we'll do something new. Dive into some price movements for Star Wars Unlimited. Not spend a whole lot of time, but just kind of like a weekly little bit short market update. So since this is the first time I've done it, I think we're going to pay most attention to the standard printing cards. As you can see, these numbers all come from TCGPlayer. It gives you kind of a % increase over the course of the last 7 days over here on the right. But hyperspace cards specifically aren't really reflective of price movements generally for like standard frame cards. They're mostly played in Twin Suns. They're usually used to bling out decks. The movements that happen with them aren't the same as what that means when you have like a 50% increase in a standard frame rare, like Bodhi Rook, for example. And I think this week really drives that point home. Jabba the Hutt, Cunning Daimyo, cool card, cool art. It's not played in any top 4 deck in any tournament. 4Ks, 5Ks, 1Ks, it's just not really played. Shoot First is a good card, but if you look over Orlando 5K, Richmond 4K, the other 4K, slipping my mind right now, but it's only played as a 2 of in one of those 12 decks if you're counting all of the top 4s. So while it is a good card, this 204%, it's not like it's flying off the shelves in its standard frame. People are looking for this to bling out their decks and buying them, probably because it's an emblematic card, really reflective of the character, really kind of iconic Star Wars moment. And similarly with Jabba the Hutt, a popular character, and going into the next set, which is focused on bounty hunters and underworld, has a heavy underworld theme. Cards like Jabba are probably going to get a little bit of a boost. People might be picking up a blinged out version to put in their Twin Suns deck, but that doesn't really reflect competitive standard or competitive meta play. So we're going to be looking mostly here at cards like Bodhi Rook, standard frame, right? Increased by 52 this week. What else do we got? We have Cantina Braggart, Cunning. We've got Cloud City Wingguard, and then Sabine Wren, even the normal one. So we're going to kind of focus in on that. Again, none of these cards either, at least Bodhi, Braggart, and Wingguard, have absolutely no play, at least main deck, in the top 4 decks in any 4K or 5K. So why are they going up? I think Bodhi in particular, we'll start with him. Bodhi points to a kind of desire to counter control decks, which have topped both of the larger tournaments in a Vader blue build and an Iden double blue build. So Bodhi's hand control can really wreck those decks if he's played at the right time. And if I played against one of these decks on Karabast beta when I was playing Vader Blue. Someone had combined it with Pirated Starfighter to bounce Bodhi back to their hand. Those kinds of shenanigans can really do a number on control decks. So I think that's really why Bodhi's increasing how he is and has gone up 52%. Cantina Braggart, it used to see play in Sabine builds. I'm thinking it's going up in aggro slot due to aggro becoming more popular again over mid-range to try and counter those control decks which have gotten first place in some of those really big tournaments. But again, it has not appeared in any of the top 4 decks, 4K or 5K, at least in the top 4. Wingguard, let's see down here. Yep, Cloud City Wingguard. A little bit more mystifying to me. It hasn't appeared in any top 16s for any of the larger 4Ks or 5Ks, or even the 1Ks, which I briefly looked at. The only thing that really makes sense to me is that as we see more Sabine, more aggro to try and counter and go under the control decks, some of the blue decks may be running this to counter aggro. But in control decks, I really think removal is king. At the end of the day, and I don't really know who would be running this or why it would be going up much at all. So let's look, go back up to Cunning. We're just kind of focusing on the top 5 standard frame cards. So the Orlando 5K, the second place Boba deck main decked 2 of these. The Richmond 4K, second place Boba deck main decked 1. And it's an aggressive tempo card, but it can also be used to stall. It's really versatile. I'm using the tap to bounce, tap and bounce. Its main use, though, I think is to buff a unit and then get the most out of its other modes by discarding or bouncing. Discarding if they only have one other card in hand, just because you don't generally want to be playing that buff when they're untapped or have all their resources ready, and then can use it against you and get rid of that unit that you buffed, because then you're kind of 2-for-1ing yourself with this card. So really good tempo card, being played even in green decks at 6 and out of aspect. The one thing I do want to point out, which I think is kind of pretty astonishing really, is for Sabine even to go from 5 cents to 15 cents. You might be going, why does that matter? You know, that's only like 10 cents, whatever, right? That's not expensive. And you would be right. Except if you've opened very many booster boxes, you've opened many boxes at all, like, you know how common all of the common leaders are. There's a crap ton of them, right, to put it mildly. So the fact that a common leader can be still increasing, going up 25%, is just, you know, or even like 3 times in cost or whatever, is a lot. I think it really points to the popularity of Sabine as a leader, that her common version can be moving at all, despite how common cards are. And the reason I would point that out is I think it's important to probably be looking for other cards in the deck to move as well, if even this card, which you know, I saw people, you know, like even in store, I mean, just like getting rid of them, right? Because the leaders, there's a leader in every pack. The common leaders, there's so many of them, right? People just even start tossing them, right? Because you're like drowning in commons, drowning in especially common leaders. So the fact that it's going up at all is sort of amazing. But most staple cards in that deck haven't been very cheap since the game launched. You know, K2SO, for a cause I believe in, those sorts of cards. I mean, it's not like they're cheap, and they've always held out a little bit higher than other rares anyway, because Sabine was always the kind of budget aggro deck, right, that you could buy if you were looking to get into the game competitively for not very much money. But I do think there are some opportunities, at least in the sense of depending on how the meta shifts and how it goes forward. Cards like Aggression, which don't see a whole lot of play in top placing decks, they did appear somewhat. And there was an Aggression Sabine build, which took 4th place in the Richmond 4K. So I'd be on the lookout for some cards like that. I know all of the double aspect cards like Cunning saw a bit of a bump when Vigilance was seeing a bump, because people were trying to buy some of their copies before they went up really high. But at the same time, I do think cards like Aggression, if they become more playable, seen in top 4s, 4Ks, 5Ks, people start placing with those, you might be paying attention to cards that are played in those decks, and Sabine specifically, if you're looking to buy some cards before they spike. And I think that will be it for today. Like I said, just trying to cover the top 5 standard frame cards that are moving on TCGPlayer during the week. If this proves useful, I'll keep doing it. Kind of try and point out like why. I might also go over hyperspace cards, the more blinged out versions, or even maybe showcases their price movements, but they're a little bit more volatile, especially while supply is limited. So we'll just have to see how that goes. Other than that, I'm planning on doing maybe one of these a week for a little bit, see how it goes. Otherwise, I'll just be posting Carabas gameplay like I normally do. Thanks. I'll see you later.